The sun beat down like an angry drum on the dusty streets of Ibadan. Dust swirled in the air, mixing with the shouts of sellers and the honks of old buses. In the middle of this noisy chaos stood Opeyemi, a girl with eyes as bright as morning stars. She was only 18, but life had already made her strong. Every day, she sowed groundnuts from a small tray balanced on her head. Groundnuts. Fresh groundnuts, she called out, her voice soft but clear. But today felt different. Opeyemi's heart was heavy. Her mother was sick at home, coughing all night, and her little brother and sister hadn't eaten properly in days. The coins in her pocket were too few. As she wiped sweat from her forehead, a tiny boy tugged at her skirt. He looked about 5, with big eyes full of hunger. "Auntie, please. I'm so hungry," he whispered, his voice like a lost bird. Opeyemi's stomach twisted. She had only one handful of groundnuts left, the last ones she could sell to buy medicine for her mother. If she gave them away, what would happen? But looking into the boy's eyes, she saw her own little brother. How could she say no? With a warm smile that hid her worry, she poured the nuts into his small hands. "Here, eat them all. Be strong, okay?" The boy grinned, his face lighting up like the sun breaking through clouds. He ran off, munching happily. Little did Opeyemi know, someone was watching. Across the street, hidden in the crowd, stood Damilola. He was the son of one of the richest men in the city, Mr. Franklin, who owned big companies and shiny cars. Damilola had come for a charity event, handing out bags of rice to the poor. But while everyone else pushed and shouted to get close to him, begging for more, his eyes caught Opeyemi's quiet act. She didn't ask for anything. She just gave, even when she had so little. His heart skipped a beat. Who was this girl? In his world of fancy houses and endless money, no one ever did that. Damilola felt a strange pull, like an invisible string tugging him toward her. He adjusted his cap to hide his face better. No one could know he was here like this. He walked over, pretending to be just another boy in the market. "How much for some groundnuts?" he asked, his voice casual. Opeyemi looked up, surprised. The boy was tall, with kind eyes and a smile that made her cheeks feel warm. But she had nothing left. "I'm sorry, I just gave away the last ones," she said, her voice trembling a bit. She felt embarrassed. What if he thought she was a bad seller? Damilola didn't mind. "That's okay. I saw what you did for that kid. That was really nice." He paused, not sure what to say next. He wasn't used to talking to girls like this. In his big house, people always wanted something from him: money, favors, attention. But Opeyemi seemed different. She didn't even know who he was. They talked for a few minutes. Opeyemi shared a little about her life, how she woke up before dawn to roll the nuts, how she dreamed of going to school one day to become a teacher. "But dreams are like stars," she said softly. "You can see them, but they are too far to touch." Her words made Damilola's chest ache. He wanted to tell her everything, who he really was, how he could help. But he held back. What if she ran away? What if she thought he was lying? As the sun dipped lower, Opeyemi glanced at the sky. "I have to go home. My mother needs me." She picked up her empty tray, her shoulders slumping with tiredness. Damilola watched her walk away, disappearing into the crowd. His mind raced. He had to see her again. But how? If his father found out he was sneaking around the market, there would be trouble. Mr. Franklin expected him to act like a prince, not chase after a groundnut seller. That night, Opeyemi lay on her thin mat in their small room. The air smelled of smoke from the cooking fire. Her mother coughed weakly beside her. "Did you sell everything today?" her mother asked. Opeyemi nodded, even though it wasn't true. She didn't want to worry her. But inside, doubt swirled like the market dust. Why did that boy talk to her? He seemed nice, but boys like him never stuck around. And what about tomorrow? How would she buy more nuts? Tears stung her eyes. She whispered to herself, one day, things will change. They have to. Meanwhile, in his huge bedroom with soft beds and glowing lights, Damilola couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking of Opeyemi's smile. For the first time, his rich life felt empty. I have to go back, he decided. But he knew it was risky. If anyone recognized him, the newspapers would scream about the billionaire's son in the dirty market. And what if Opeyemi found out the truth too soon? Would she trust him or push him away? The next morning, Opeyemi returned to the market with a fresh tray of groundnuts. Her heart hoped for a good day. As she set up her spot, she scanned the crowd. Was that the boy from yesterday? No, just a shadow. But deep down, a tiny spark of hope flickered. What if he came back? Little did she know, Damilola was already on his way, dressed in old clothes, his heart pounding with excitement and fear. The market buzzed louder than ever, hiding secrets in its noise. Opeyemi sold a few nuts, but her mind wandered. Suddenly, a voice made her jump. Back for more groundnuts. It was him, Damilola, smiling shyly. Her eyes widened. You came back? She asked, her voice full of surprise. He nodded. I couldn't stay away. As they talked again, laughing about silly market stories, Opeyemi felt a warmth she hadn't known before. But in the back of her mind, a question whispered, who is this boy really? And why does he look at me like I'm the only one in the world? The day stretched on, full of stolen glances and shared dreams. But as the sun set, a storm cloud gathered. One of Damilola's father's guards spotted him from afar. Young master, the guard muttered, eyes narrowing. If you reported this, everything could fall apart. Opeyemi didn't notice. She just felt happy, for now. But secrets have a way of breaking free, and this one was just beginning to crack. Opeyemi's heart pounded like a drum in her chest as she stared at the shiny black car pulling up to her groundnut stall. It wasn't just any car, it gleamed under the hot Ibadan sun like something from a dream. Who could it be? She wiped her sweaty hands on her faded wrapper, her mind racing. For weeks, the kind stranger named Damilola had been coming back, chatting with her, making her laugh. But now, as the door opened and he stepped out in fancy clothes, something felt wrong. Very wrong. Damilola smiled, but his eyes looked nervous. Opeyemi, I need to tell you something important. Can we talk somewhere quiet? She nodded, her stomach twisting into knots. They walked to a shady spot under an old mango tree, away from the noisy market sellers shouting about their wares. The air smelled of roasted corn and dust, but Opeyemi couldn't focus on that. Her mind whispered scary thoughts. What if he's not who he says? What if this is all a trick? They sat on a low bench. Damilola took a deep breath. Opeyemi, I've been coming here in simple clothes because I'm not just an ordinary guy. My family is rich. Very rich. My father owns big companies all over Nigeria. I'm Damilola Adeyemi, son of the billionaire Chief Adeyemi. The words hit her like a sudden rainstorm. Opeyemi's eyes widened. Billionaire. She had seen pictures of Chief Adeyemi in newspapers, tall buildings, fancy parties, people bowing to him. And Damilola was his son. Her hands shook as she clutched her basket. You lied to me. All this time, pretending to be like me. No. Damilola grabbed her hand gently. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. I wanted you to like me for who I am, not for my money. Remember when I first saw you? You gave your last groundnuts to that hungry boy. That kindness, it touched me deep inside. In my world, people fake smiles for what they can get. But you're real. Opeyemi pulled her hand away, tears stinging her eyes. Her mind spun with questions. Why her? She was just a girl from a poor family, selling groundnuts to buy medicine for her sick mother and food for her little brothers and sisters. Her home was a tiny room with a leaky roof, not a mansion with guards and swimming pools. What do you want from me, Damilola? People like you don't mix with people like me. Your family would laugh. Or worse, they'd chase me away like a thief. Damilola's face turned serious, his voice low and urgent. I know it's hard to believe, but I care about you. More than care, I think I'm falling in love with you. Your strength, your smile, it makes me feel alive. Please, give me a chance. But doubt crept in like shadows at dusk. Opeyemi stood up, pacing under the tree. Memories flashed, her father dying young, leaving them with nothing. Her mother coughing in bed, whispering, "Be strong, my child." And now this. A rich boy saying pretty words. What if it was a game? Rich people played games, didn't they? She had heard stories, girls like her getting hurt, left with broken hearts and whispers behind their backs. "I can't," she whispered, her voice cracking. "If people find out, they'll mock me. Look at the groundnut girl dreaming of gold. And your family. They'll say I'm after your money. I don't want that. I work hard for what I have." Damilola stood too, his eyes pleading. "Let me prove it. Come with me, just for a drive. See my world a little. No promises, but let me show you I'm serious." Her heart tugged two ways. Part of her wanted to run back to her store, forget him. But another part, the secret part that dreamed of better days, whispered, "What if? What if love could bridge the gap?" She bit her lip, suspense building like thunder before rain. Finally, she nodded. "Okay. But if it feels wrong, I go back." They got into the car, the soft seats feeling strange under her. As they drove through Ibadan's busy streets, past markets turning into tall buildings, Opeyemi's fear grew. What was she doing? The driver glanced at her in the mirror, his eyes curious. Did he know? They stopped at a quiet park with green lawns and fountains, nothing like the dusty spots she knew. Damilola led her to a bench by a pond. "This is where I come to think," he said. "Away from the noise of my life." They talked for hours. He shared stories of his lonely childhood, big house, but no real friends. Parties where everyone wanted something from him. "You make me feel seen, Opeyemi. Not just my name." She opened up too, tears flowing. About her mother's illness, her siblings' hungry eyes. "I dream of school, of helping others. But dreams feel far away." As the sun dipped low, painting the sky orange, Damilola leaned closer. "We can face this together. But I won't push you." Just then, his phone buzzed. He answered, his face paling. "What? How did you know?" He hung up, looking scared. "My sister saw us. She's telling my parents. They are furious. They want me home now." Opeyemi's blood ran cold. The storm was here. "See? I told you. They'll hate me." Damilola grabbed her hands. "No. I'll fight for us. But you have to decide, do you trust me enough to try?" Her mind raced. Trust a world that could crush her? Or walk away from the first person who saw her heart? The air felt thick with unspoken fears, like ghosts whispering doubts. What would she choose? As the car sped back, her heart hammered. The battle had just begun, and deep down, she wondered if love was strong enough to win. What if the person you love could cost you everything, your home, your money, even your family? Would you fight for them, or walk away? Damilola stood in the grand hall of his family's mansion, his heart pounding like a drum in a storm. The walls were covered in gold frames and shiny lights, but right now, it felt like a prison. His father, Mr. Franklin, glared at him from his big leather chair, his face red with anger. "You want to marry a girl who sells groundnuts on the street? Have you lost your mind, boy?" Damilola swallowed hard. He had just told his family the truth about Opeyemi. His mother, Esther, sat nearby, twisting her hands in her lap. His older brother, Timi, leaned against the wall, smirking like he knew this would end badly. The air was thick with tension, like the moment before thunder crashes. Damilola thought of Opeyemi's warm smile and how she gave her last nuts to a hungry kid. That kindness was worth more than all the money in this room. But would his family ever see that? "No, father," Damilola said, his voice steady even though his knees shook. "I haven't lost my mind. I found my heart. Opeyemi is strong and good. She doesn't care about our wealth. She loves me for who I am, not what I have." Mr. Franklin slammed his fist on the table. "Love? That's for fairy tales. You're the heir to this empire. We built it with hard work and smart choices. Marrying her would ruin our name. People will laugh at us. Business partners will walk away. You'll lose everything. Damilola felt a sharp pain in his chest, like a knife twisting. He pictured Opeyemi alone in the Ibadan marketplace, facing whispers and stares because of him. But he couldn't back down. If that's the price, I'll pay it, he whispered. His brother's smirk faded, replaced by a look of shock. Esther's eyes filled with tears. Damilola, think about your future, she pleaded. She's from a different world. How will she fit in? The room fell silent, except for the ticking of a fancy clock on the wall. Damilola's mind raced. Deep down, he wondered if they were right. What if loving Opeyemi meant destroying his life? But then he remembered her words, I don't need your money. I need you to believe in us. That thought ignited a fire in him, hot and fierce. Meanwhile, across town in the dusty streets of Ibadan, Opeyemi wiped sweat from her forehead as she packed up her groundnut stall. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange, but her mind was dark with worry. Word had spread like wildfire, people knew about her and the rich boy. Neighbors pointed and whispered. How can a groundnut seller catch a billionaire's eye? She must be using tricks. Opeyemi's little sister, Ola, tugged at her skirt. Sister, is it true? Are you going to marry him? Ola's eyes were wide with hope, but Opeyemi's heart ached. Her mother was sick in bed, and her siblings needed food. If she accepted Damilola's help, it would be easy. But no, she had promised herself she wouldn't. I have to prove I'm worthy on my own, she told Ola. Love isn't about taking shortcuts. That night, Opeyemi couldn't sleep. She lay on her thin mat, staring at the cracked ceiling. Shadows danced like ghosts, whispering doubts. What if Damilola's family forced him to choose? What if she lost him forever? A tear slipped down her cheek. But then, a small voice inside her said, You're stronger than this. Fight for what you believe. It was like a hidden strength waking up, pulling her from the edge of giving up. The next day, Damilola sneaked out of the mansion in plain clothes, his heart racing with excitement and fear. He met Opeyemi at their secret spot by the old tree in the market. They want me to end it, he confessed, holding her hands. His eyes searched hers, begging for understanding. Opeyemi pulled back, her face serious. Then maybe you should. I won't let you lose everything for me. I'll keep selling groundnuts. I'll take care of my family without your help. Damilola's words spun. No. I won't let them control me. This gilded cage, it's beautiful, but it's trapping me. With you, I feel free. He pulled out a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple ring, not flashy like his family's jewels. This is from my heart, not my wallet. Marry me, Opeyemi. We'll face them together. Suspense hung in the air like thick fog. Opeyemi stared at the ring, her breath caught. Accepting it meant war, with society, with his family, maybe even with herself. But refusing, that would break both their hearts. I need time, she said, her voice trembling. Deep inside, a spark grew. What if their love could change everything? What if it showed the world that hearts matter more than money? Back at the mansion, Mr. Franklin paced in his office. He had called a family meeting. If Damilola doesn't stop this nonsense, I'll cut him off. No inheritance, no support. Esther gasped. But he's our son. Timi nodded slowly, but doubt flickered in his eyes. Had Damilola's bravery planted a seed of change? As the sun dipped low, Damilola walked home alone, the ring still in his pocket. He felt the weight of his choice, like carrying a mountain. But for the first time, he wasn't afraid. Opeyemi's strength fueled him. Yet, a nagging thought whispered, what if the fire they ignited burned too bright? What if it destroyed them both? Opeyemi, back at her store, sold her groundnuts with a new fire in her eyes. Customers noticed her glow, even as whispers grew louder. She refused a rich man's handout from a passerby, saying, I earn my way. Her refusal sparked curiosity. Who was this girl defying the odds? The battle was just beginning. Damilola's family plotted to separate them. Society watched, waiting for the fall. But in their hearts, a quiet revolution brewed. Love versus wealth. Strength versus scorn. Who would win? The answer hung like a storm cloud, ready to burst. Opeyemi stood in the middle of the Ibadan marketplace, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The sun beat down hot and fierce, but she couldn't stop now. Not when everything she loved was at stake. What if I say yes to Damilola's help, she whispered to herself, staring at the pile of groundnuts in her basket. But deep inside, a voice screamed, no. You must prove you're strong enough. Little did she know, today would test her like never before, with secrets lurking in the shadows that could shatter her world. The marketplace buzzed with life. Vendors shouted prices for yams, fabrics, and spices. Opeyemi wiped sweat from her forehead and smiled at a customer, handing over a small bag of roasted groundnuts. That will be 200 naira, auntie, she said politely. But her mind was far away, replaying the fight with Damilola last night. He had begged her to let him pay for her mother's medicine. I love you, Opeyemi. Why suffer when I can help? His eyes had been so sad, like a lost puppy. But she had shaken her head. I won't be your charity case. I need to earn my way. Now, doubt crept in like a sneaky thief. Was she being stubborn? Or was this the only way to show she deserved his love? As the morning dragged on, trouble stirred. A fancy car pulled up at the edge of the market, shiny and black like a panther. Out stepped a tall woman in expensive clothes, Damilola's aunt, Aunty Esther. Opeyemi's stomach twisted. She had heard stories about the Williams family, how they ruled like kings in their big mansion. Aunty Esther marched straight to Opeyemi's store, her high heels clicking on the dusty ground. People whispered and stared. You. Aunty Esther pointed a finger like a spear. You're the girl messing with my nephew's head. A common street seller. Huh. You think you can trap him with your poor girl tricks? Her voice was loud, making Opeyemi's cheeks burn. Shoppers gathered around, eyes wide with curiosity. Opeyemi felt small, like a mouse cornered by a cat. But she lifted her chin. I love Damilola for who he is, not his money. And he loves me the same. Aunty Esther laughed, cold and sharp. Love. Child, love doesn't pay bills or keep reputations clean. Leave him alone, or I'll make sure you regret it. She leaned closer, her perfume choking the air. I know about your sick mother. One word from me, and no doctor in Ibadan will treat her. Opeyemi's heart froze. How did she know? Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them away. You can't scare me, she said, her voice shaking just a little. Inside, fear whispered, what if she's right? What if you lose everything? The crowd murmured. Some nodded with Aunty Esther, saying things like, she's too poor for him. But then, an old vendor named Uncle Timi stepped forward. He sold fruits next to Opeyemi and had watched her grow up. Leave the girl be, he boomed. Opeyemi works harder than anyone. She's got a heart of gold. More voices joined in. A young woman buying groundnuts said, yes, she's kind. Gave my kid free nuts when we had nothing. Even a stranger, a man in a suit who turned out to be a local businessman, added, strength like hers is rare. The boy is lucky. Aunty Esther's face turned red with anger. She stormed off, muttering threats under her breath. Opeyemi's knees felt weak. She thanked her new allies with hugs and smiles, but her mind raced. These people, unexpected friends, made her feel stronger. Yet, the doubt lingered. What if Aunty Esther followed through? What about her family at home? Her little brother Ola needed school fees, and her sister Franklin was too young to understand the pain. That afternoon, as the sun dipped lower, Damilola appeared in his simple disguise, a faded shirt and cap. He looked worried, his eyes searching hers. I heard about my aunt. I'm sorry, Opeyemi. Let me fix this. He reached for her hand, but she pulled back gently. No, Damilola. If I take your help now, they'll say I only want your money. I have to fight this my way. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. You're the bravest person I know. But it hurts to see you struggle. They sat on a wooden bench behind the stall, hidden from prying eyes. Opeyemi opened up, her voice soft. Sometimes I dream of a life without worry. Fancy clothes, big house. But then I think, is that me? Or am I just running from who I am? Damilola nodded, his eyes misty. I feel lost in my world too. All the money, but no real friends. You make me feel alive. Their words hung in the air, pulling at something deep inside, like a secret wish for a better tomorrow. But suspense built as evening fell. A note slipped into Opeyemi's basket from an unknown hand. Meet me at the old bridge tonight. Come alone, or your family pays. Her pulse quickened. Who sent it? Aunty Esther. Or someone worse. She crumpled the paper, fear mixing with anger. I won't back down, she told herself. Yet, as she packed up her store, a storm cloud gathered overhead, mirroring the storm in her heart. That night, under the stars, Opeyemi walked to the bridge, her steps echoing in the quiet. Shadows danced, and every rustle made her jump. Was this a trap? Or a chance to end the threats? Her mind flashed to Damilola's smile, her mother's weak hugs, her siblings' laughter. For them, she whispered. As she reached the bridge, a figure emerged from the dark, a man she didn't know, with a sly grin. So, you're the girl causing all the trouble. What would happen next? Opeyemi's strength was her weapon, but in this moment, doubt whispered louder than ever. Could she hold on, or would the pull of Damilola's glittering world, and the dangers it brought, break her spirit forever? Opeyemi stood alone in a small room, her hands trembling as she smoothed the simple white dress she wore. It wasn't fancy, not like the glittering gowns of the rich, but it was hers, stitched with love by her mother's frail hands. Today was her wedding day, but her heart pounded with fear. Would Damilola's powerful family stop them? Would the world that sneered at a groundnut seller like her ruin this moment? The question hung heavy. Could love really win against hate? Outside, the church buzzed with tension. Guests in shiny suits and colorful girly head wraps filled the pews, their eyes sharp with judgment. Damilola's family sat in the front row, their faces like stone. His mother, Mrs. Adeyemi, clutched her purse so tightly her knuckles turned white. She had called Opeyemi a nobody just yesterday, vowing to end this a disgrace. Damilola's father, a billionaire who owned half of Ibadan's biggest businesses, hadn't spoken a word, but his glare said enough. They wanted a bride with wealth, not a girl from the dusty market. Opeyemi peeked through a crack in the door, her breath catching. Damilola stood at the altar, tall and steady, his eyes searching for her. He looked calm, but she knew him well enough to see the worry in his clenched jaw. He had given up so much for her, his family's approval, maybe even his inheritance. What if it was all for nothing? What if his family's anger tore them apart before they could say their vows? The music started, a soft drumbeat that echoed like a heartbeat. Opeyemi's little sister, Esther, squeezed her hand. You're brave, Op, she whispered. Don't let them scare you. Opeyemi nodded, but her legs felt like jelly. She stepped forward, and the church doors swung open. Every head turned. Whispers grew louder, like a swarm of bees. Who does she think she is? Someone hissed. A groundnut seller in our church, another muttered. Opeyemi's cheeks burned, but she kept her head high, her eyes locked on Damilola's smile. Halfway down the aisle, a loud voice cut through the music. Stop this nonsense. Mrs. Adeyemi stood, her voice sharp as a knife. The crowd gasped. Opeyemi froze, her heart sinking. Damilola's mother stormed forward, her eyes blazing. Damilola, you cannot marry this girl. She's nothing. She'll ruin our name. The words stung like a slap, and Opeyemi felt tears prick her eyes. She wanted to run, to hide from the shame, but her feet wouldn't move. Damilola stepped forward, his voice steady but loud. Mother, enough. Opeyemi is everything. She's kind, strong, and honest, more than anyone in this room. He turned to the crowd, his eyes fierce. You judge her because she sells groundnuts. She's worked harder than most of you, cared for her family, and never lost hope. That's worth more than gold. The church went silent, the air heavy with shock. Opeyemi's heart swelled, but fear still gnawed at her. Would his words change anything? Mrs. Adeyemi's face twisted with anger. You'll lose everything, Damilola. Your money, your future, gone. She pointed at Opeyemi. She's not worth it. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others looking unsure. Opeyemi's throat tightened. Was she really a mistake? But then, a small voice broke the tension. Leave my sister alone. Esther, only 10 years old, stood up, her fist clenched. Ope is the best person I know. You're just mean. A few people gasped, but others smiled, their hard faces softening. Damilola's father stood slowly, his presence commanding. Everyone held their breath. Enough, he said, his voice low but firm. He looked at Opeyemi, then at Damilola. I thought this girl was weak, unworthy. But I've watched her. She works hard, never begs, and loves my son fiercely. Maybe we were wrong. The crowd buzzed, stunned. Mrs. Adeyemi's eyes widened, but she said nothing, sitting down slowly. The pastor cleared his throat. Shall we continue? Opeyemi's legs moved again, and she reached Damilola's side. His hand found hers, warm and strong. I'm with you, he whispered. Tears spilled down her cheeks, not from shame now, but from hope. The vows began, each word feeling like a promise to fight the war together. I, Opeyemi, take you, Damilola, to love and cherish, no matter what. Her voice shook, but it carried to every corner of the church. As they exchanged rings, a strange calm settled over Opeyemi. The whispers faded, the glare softened. Some guests clapped, others wiped tears. Even Mrs. Adeyemi's face relaxed, though she didn't smile. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," Damilola pulled Opeyemi close, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The sound was like thunder, shaking the stars above Ibadan. Outside, under a sky painted with orange and pink, Opeyemi and Damilola stood hand in hand. The market where she once sold groundnuts wasn't far, its noise a faint hum. She wasn't that girl anymore, but she was still Opeyemi, strong, kind, and unbroken. Damilola kissed her forehead. We did it, he said. But deep down, Opeyemi wondered, would the world ever truly accept them? Or was this just the start of a bigger fight? The stars twinkled above, watching, waiting, as if they knew the answer.
Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories. Click the video on your screen to keep watching. Another great video story is waiting for you.